Today I want to show y'all how to check for bridge vertical clearance using OpenRoads. And here is a cross-street typical section that we'll be using. And here is a list of the required roadway information in order to do this. So first, we're going to need to know our structure depth of our bridge, then our profiles of all crossing roadways, super elevation information for those roadways, and the distances from the PGLs to the EOPs. So here is the PGL for our cross street, and then the distance to the EOP on the left side is 22, and the distance to the EOP on the right side is 34. So that's what that means. So I have a picture here that I want to show you that demonstrates the structure depth of a bridge, and it's really just the top surface of the roadway or the bridge, the distance from the top surface to the bottom of the girder. And in this case, we're going to be using a TX54 beam. It's widely used in Texas, so for our structure depth, we're going to use 64 inches. So to start, we'll be using a couple commands, 2 to 3 commands, and in this case, we'll start with a single offset partial. And what we're going to do here is create the, using this command, we'll create the edge of pavements for each geometry, each crossing geometry. So in this case, it's going to be, we're going to do it for the main lanes, for this cross street, and our turnaround here. So for the main lanes, the distance from the center line to the edge of pavement is 72 feet. So we have that here. And I will use this command, start before the cross street and end after the U-turn. And we'll mirror because it's mirrored. Then we're going to go back and look at our cross street typical section to remind ourselves the distances to the edge of pavements. So for the cross street, it's going to be 22, 34, and the U-turn, it's going to be 10 and 24. So I'm going to change the feature definition just so we can get some contrast and we know which profile is above which. So we're going to say the blue is going over and the orange, which is going to be the road shoulder, is going to be under. So we can do 22. It's going to be negative 22. And we'll choose before and after. We'll mirror it, and then we'll make sure, so it's going to be 34, and then we'll do the same thing for the U-turn. And for the U-turn, I'll use single offset entire element. So you can either use the single offset partial or single offset entire element. So in this case, I'll use 10. I'll make sure to use the road shoulder. And I'll come back to double check, and it's going to be 24 feet on the right side. So now that we have this, we're pretty much halfway there. And but the next thing we need to do, or now we have the horizontal alignments of our edge of pavements, and now we need to provide profiles for those for these horizontal alignments of the edge of pavements. So for the main lanes, I'm going to go to vertical geometry, and I'm going to use profile by slope from element. And I'm going to give it my structure depth vertical offset, which is going to be minus 64 divided by 12. and I'm gonna make sure that this is -2% because my edge of pavement is sloping 2% from the PGL. So now I'm going to click these edge of pavements, both of them, then I'm going to reset, which is right click, and then I'm going to pick my main lane geometry and click through. So now we have profiles for these edge of pavements that that take into account the cross slope and the vertical offset of the structure depth. So in this cross streets case, we'll use the same command, but we'll just make sure to have a 0 vertical offset because we just want to go 2% from the cross street. So we'll pick these edge of pavements for the cross street. We'll right click to reset. We'll click the reference. And now we have profiles for the edge of pavements of the cross street. And we can go in the profile model just to confirm that. And here you can see that it's going, here's the vertical offset. So now we can do the same exact thing for the turnaround. So, but one thing we need to be aware of for the turnaround is the turnaround is sloping to one side. So we need to make sure to use the -2% for the right edge of pavement of the turnaround and the +2% from for the left. So we'll go ahead and do that. Profile by slope from element. We'll do -2 so we can use this one. And we'll right click, locate our reference element, the U-turn, click through here, and then we'll make sure to change this to 2%. Now we can use this one, the left side. Then we'll go reset, right click, and then click on the reference element. So now all these edge of pavements have profiles and they're projecting the cross slope to the edge of pavements. And if you can see, here's my main lane, it has an active profile, cross street has an active profile, and my U-turn has an active profile. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to use the profile intersection point command. So if we go into one of the edge of pavements and go to the profile view, then let me zoom out a little bit. Then let's go ahead and use this profile intersection point and see what happens. So we're going to locate the element to show intersection, which is this EOP. Then we're going to show we're going to select our edge of pavements for the main lanes. And this profile takes into account the structure depth. So we're going to click both of these. And now we're able to measure. We'll use the minimum between. And now we can measure the distance from that intersection, which is mimicking the bottom of the girder, to the to the profile of the edge of pavement. So in this case, we would have a vertical clearance of 17.9, and we can check this point. And really, you would do the same for each edge of pavement and PGL, just to make sure that you're taking into account, or that you're not forgetting about any points that could be of conflict. So I'll demonstrate this one more time. We'll check the cross street PGL. This is probably the critical one because the PGL is the highest. The edge of pavements are sloping away from it. So if I use the same profile intersection point and I locate the crossing elements, which is, or locate element to show intersection, the cross street, the edge of pavements intersect, and now I can use the measure command and make sure to click the PGL. Now I see that I have a 17.5 vertical clearance, which was less than the left edge of pavement. And that's how you check the vertical clearance using OpenRoads.